This is Robert from Twin Peaks, and you're listening to Inspirado, Projecto. Got a light?
People could reach me if they're interested in talking or learning about coaching or just reading my blog or just saying hi on Instagram After Defeat, just AFTERDEFEAT, and the same for my website www.afterdefeat.com. And there people can contact me and read my blog, etc. So I would love to hear from people. I am friendly and open, and I love to hear new ideas. So that's always really awesome to me.
Gosh, thank you so much for being a guest on the show and for such a high vibrating conversation. This is going to be so great to share with everybody.
This has been so fun for me. I just want to thank you for having me on and having such a thorough, fun, light, interesting and introspective conversation. I really like the way you operate and the way you are in the world. I love hearing how positive you are and also how tickled you are with ideas. It's just such a present part of you.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I just feel like it's all giggles, and I like that. That's the kind of way that those are the people I like, are the people who are like open to giggling and then actually do it. That's me.
Oh my gosh. This is good. We'll be waking up some more of those people in their hibernation through this podcast. That'll be fun. Well, thank you so much, Nina, and you have a great day, and
you too.
Stay inspired.
Sounds good, and you also. Talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Inspirado, what did you mean by UFO meetings you attended?
Thank you so much, Man Behind the Machine, for asking me about the secret UFO meetings I used to attend. I am going to answer that question if you stick around after this extraordinary interview with Nina Rubin, coactive coach, an extraordinary spirit. I met her on a few occasions at Yachtly Cruise shows. Just a great spirit. She helps out all kinds of folks, all shapes and sizes, all businesses and nomenclatures. She's great. She helps you analyze your dreams too, which is actually what we're going to be talking about here. So stick around afterwards. Oh, by the way, if any of you want to be included in episodes of Inspirado Projecto, like we just heard from Man Behind the Machine, you could do two things. Of course, download the app, Anchor FM, and you could actually find Inspirado Projecto in there and leave a message in there for me. Also, you could call the hotline, 561-203-9179. Call it up, and I will put your message into the episode. Which actually, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that after this interview with Nina Rubin. So stick around. Thanks for listening to Inspirado Projecto.
So one of the things since last time we talked, I came across, I guess David Blaine about 4 hours ago went up into the sky at I don't know how many thousands of feet with balloons. He was tied to a whole bunch of balloons, air balloons.
Really?
Balloons. Yeah, and he flew across. This was up in Arizona, and so I was just watching because they kind of have like a little documentary. It's on YouTube. You can check it out. It's crazy to think this happened 4 hours ago, and so it's been a dream of his ever since he was a little kid. I guess he saw a movie where some guy gets taken up into the sky with balloons, and so that had been something in his brain, and for the longest time. And he got together a group of folks, and they figured out all the stuff. He took skydiving lessons, and there's just so much that went into this. I guess 10 years worth of preparation, and so it's just so crazy, and just to know what we are capable of as humans to pull off some kinds of these stunts. I mean, it's like the other day I saw on TikTok, there's this kid who I don't I mean, I don't even know how the heck you even train for something like this, but he's got basically, there's like a big fan. It's like he's got like a backpack, and it's got like a fan or something on it that shoots wind up into like a parachute kind of thing. And he flies around his town. You see him like go, oh yeah, we're gonna go
my
to McDonald's
goodness.
today. And he goes off into the sky and over the cornfields, and he lands right in the parking lot and gets his sandwich. He's like, okay, up in the sky we go, and he goes, and it's like, this is something that's actually really happening right now. It's just blowing my mind. Oh my god, which is so funny.
That's so cool.
Oh yeah, it's funny because earlier when we were talking last time, you're talking about reoccurring dreams, and some of the reoccurring dreams that I've had. So it totally makes sense that I see this synchronicity here about flying in the sky. Is that a lot of my dreams are about flying. A lot of them are about seeing spacecrafts or being aboard spacecrafts. A lot of them are just flying just as a regular human, almost kind of like I can jump from rooftops to rooftops, and oh man, it's just so exhilarating. It's so exhilarating. Growing up, I used to have dreams where I would be flying, but then it's so crazy because like there's that thing that kicks in. I think that's kind of a default mechanism in a lot of people's brains, is that thing like that idea of like, oh wow, things are going great right now, but just around the corner something terrible might happen, so don't get too excited. Don't relax too much into that wonderful feeling, because something's bound to come crashing through the wall like Kool-Aid Man. And so I would have in these dreams where I'd be flying, it'd be great, and then I would have this thought in my brain going, oh no, I hope no bad guys show up. And then all of a sudden these dudes would show up with machine guns trying to shoot me out of the sky. And so it was such a lesson, like when we look at how dreams manifest, the immediacy and how fast ideas manifest in a dream. It's like I just feel like it's a symbolic representation of what happens to us in real life in terms of manifestation. However, in a dream it's instantaneous, but it really definitely shows us the consequences of our thoughts, I suppose, the ideas that we're putting out there and the way they reflect back to us. But it's just so interesting how it's just a symbolic representation of what's going on here, except sometimes there are varying lengths of time in order for things to manifest.
But I think so you're speaking to like how when your mind is at rest, you have an unlimited amount of an unlimited and infinite amount of like creativity. But then when you wake up and you have this saboteur who says, well, you could get shot down.
Right.
And like how quickly that saboteur or that inner critic comes in saying, well, don't get too excited, don't go too high, because you're gonna need this is not gonna work out anyway.
Yes,
just around the corner.
Yeah, and those used to be the dreams that I would have growing up, but now it's like there are no bad guys. Like it's like
that's great.
It's somehow I ironed out those wrinkles and just allowed myself to ease into the flying around. You know what I think it is? I think it was the more I was watching videos and reading books about manifestation of reality, how to better connect with the universe, watching a lot of channelers and people who makes it their mission to have a very close relationship with the universe. The more I started applying those things to my own life and following my intuitions and following the synchronicities and seeing how those inevitably manifested those things into my reality, where I could make a direct connection between something I said or thought, and I go, oh, bloop, and all of a sudden there it is in my reality. The more I became comfortable with that and more I had a relationship with that, I think that's probably where the turning point started happening in my dreams, where it was like, look, it's in your hands, man. It's in your hands. We're taking our cue from you. What kind of movie do you want to see right now? It's like, do you want it to be terrible, bad guys coming out, or do you want to just have a blast, flying in the clouds and going over these majestic landscapes? And I'm like, wow, it just felt so empowering once that realization of sitting of knowing that you were sitting in the driver's seat. Once that popped in, it was like, ooh, wow, that's a key.
That's awesome. It's so cool that you have access to so much creativity in your life, and that you really allow your mind to express itself, and that you don't shut it down. That's great.
Oh my gosh. And it's I love the fact that you said that and you pointed that out, because it's beautiful that you said that, because that's what it is. It's like, I'm letting the kids play. I'm letting the ideas, let them get muddy, let them splash around in the puddles, let them get, sand under their fingernails as they're playing around in the sandbox, letting them get cut and bruised while they're climbing the trees. And it's like, it's so cool that you're pointing that out, because I view those ideas as so just sacred, sacred little children. So just like, ooh, these little babies, let's grow them up and get them out there in the world. And I just feel the excitement whenever I choose one of them to start doing something with, and they're like, all right, cool. And it's like the dog hopping in the car. It's like, we're going on an adventure. And it feels so good to, it feels so good to plug into that. And you were telling me before that you had struggled with perfectionism. Where do you think that had first stemmed from?
Well, it's interesting because I don't know. I think it's innate for me. I don't know, because when I was in kindergarten, my kindergarten teacher approached my parents and asked my parents, or told my parents, to stop putting so much pressure on me to be perfect in class. And this was kindergarten. And my parents said, we're not. We just want her to like learn and have fun. And the teacher said, well, she's really upset when she doesn't like do her lettering, her like handwriting correctly. And my parents were like, well, we're not putting pressure. This is just how she is. And so I don't know. I think it's been something that was innate in me, and it took years for me to reckon with. And I know when I stopped, well, I would say, I can't say I'm finished with perfectionism, but I can definitely say that I've gotten, I'm in recovery. And I know when the recovery started, and that was when I started doing, I started doing a really hard type of exercise. I did CrossFit, and I know there's like pros and cons of CrossFit, and I don't want to get into that, but I did something really hard for me because I never considered myself athletic. I considered myself fit, but I never considered myself athletic. And then I realized I could be like anyone could be an athlete, and it doesn't mean you have to be competitive. It just means you have to move your body. And when I recognized that, that's when I thought I could try something and fail. I can drop weight. Like, I mean, I don't mean like literally weight on my body, like get thinner. It was like literally I could drop a barbell with weight on it and no one would hurt themselves. Like I wouldn't break and the weight wouldn't break, and I wasn't ruining anything because I was always so afraid that I was going to ruin something for somebody. And so my perfectionism was all about like me not pleasing somebody. Like I really wanted everybody to be having a good time, and no one was having a bad time in CrossFit. Everybody, and I realized I could have a good time. We could all have a good time, lift different amounts of weight, run miles, and I didn't have to win, and it would be fun. It could just be fun. It was something that could be, there was like a competitive aspect where I could be competitive with myself, but I knew I wasn't going to be the best one in class or go to like the regionals or the competitions, but it was just fun. And that's when I recognized my perfectionism, the hold of perfectionism loosening. That was a good feeling.
Incredible. You know, that whole thing was just a total symbolic representation, a whole, metaphor just for like life itself. It's so crazy. Like, how every plant grows at its own pace. Every dog barks at its own speed or pitch. Right. Each person eats at their own pace. It's like that idea of like there's enough room for everyone. And if there is competition, it's the idea of going, wow, cool, here's a benchmark that I passed. Wow, wouldn't that be fun if I try to pass, a few more? Let's see where those benchmarks will end up. And then it becomes sort of like you don't have to match yourself up against anyone, and you don't get that sort of like us versus them mentality. It's just purely, here's this, relationship I'm growing here, and in what directions can we grow it? And it's
also like with regard to my blog, I wanted to write a blog for a long time, and then I thought, I'm not a good enough writer. I don't have a Pulitzer Prize. And then I started I thought I better just read some blogs, and I realized a lot of people have a blog that and they're not Pulitzer Prize winning authors, or they don't even write full sentences. So if I can write a full sentence, I would be just doing well enough. And then I realized I don't even have to be brilliant. Like it takes. And then I realized, like, in my desire to be brilliant, I don't have to be. I don't even have to be interesting. I can just express myself for the sake of expressing myself. Right. And then in the sake of expressing myself, I realized that I was smart or I was interesting, but that wasn't the goal. The goal was trying and trial and error more so than like winning. That was another aspect of perfectionism that helped me.
Wow, that's a brilliant way of putting it, taking out that aspect of, it's like by not giving power to that competitive nature, or being, matched up with the Pulitzer Prize winner, or, by taking away that power, it just gave you so much freedom to really just dive deeper into your own authentic self, huh?
Exactly. Actually, you said something a moment ago, and this is a sentence I would have said, and you said there's room enough for all of us, and I totally agree. Like, you can have your podcast, and I can have a podcast, and they're not they're not in competition. There's room. Like, we could both have a podcast if we wanted to. You could also write a blog, and like, it's not going to take away from my thoughts, or it only might promote mine. Like, it only might give me more to think about and write about.
Yeah, and what's so funny too is, like, that's the other crazy thing too, is that when the focus is not, oh gosh, it's such a beautiful thing, because all the things that one particular mindset might value as the highest and most important thing, like, oh gosh, I really hope that I get millions of viewers on here. Oh, I hope I hope people like the content I'm putting out there. Will they find me funny? Will they find me interesting? See, but it's funny because that then becomes a very forced and very desperate sort of mission. However, when it's just getting a kick out of yourself and your ideas and your thoughts, all of that stuff comes by as a byproduct anyway.
And not only getting a kick of yourself, but getting a kick out of others was a natural curiosity.
Sure, yeah. Well, the ideas, I guess what we're referred to is that idea of giving, getting kick out of those ideas and the imagination that's coming to you, and not feeling like you're just like, wow, I'm just so happy about crafting this particular world.
Yes.
World that's
yes, exactly.
And what's so fun, it's like there are vibrations that vibrate with all shapes and sizes and colors, and it's incredible because, like, I frequently think about this. Like, there's a whole genre called noise. It's just called noise, and they got festivals, Noise Band Festival, where you go there. You could be in the band, and you're called the Pots and Pans Express, and you bring there, and you just got your pots and pans. You go yeah, and you bang on the pots and pans, and they put you on a stage immediately. It's that kind of thing where it's like, holy cow, who would have thought that something like that would be a genre, and that there would be all these people that actually love that kind of thing. Well, that just goes to show that there's room for all kinds of these ideas and explorations. And the cool thing is, you're gonna, those people who are meant to find your thing, they're gonna be gravitated towards it somehow. The universe is gonna bring it.
Yes, that's right.
It's such a fun, and then it just becomes so much more enjoyable. Then it's becoming like a fun, like, I think I was telling you about the idea of doodling, where when you're talking on the phone, see, it's funny because I'll talk to people who are like, oh, I could never be an artist. Maybe I did way when I was a kid, but oh no, I could never be an artist. I just draw stick figures, or I doodle. And I'm like, well, doodling, that's the purest form of art form. That's you getting out of the way of yourself. You're talking to the phone, on the phone usually, and that side of your brain is used up, while the other side is just like, oh, okay, let's just make some shapes here. Let's just go here. And it's so completely unattached. It's detached, and it's playful. And it's like, look at that awesome scribble, or geometric pattern that was just formed right there without forethought, without anything. And yet here are people who are selling prints of things just like that on eBay. You're like, huh, interesting. So it is fun when you give yourself permission to just kind of be okay with being sloppy. And that must have felt really good for you when that key, when that revelation struck you, where you could go, wow, cool, I can exercise, I can do this, and it's just me, and I don't have to compete against anyone.
It was very liberating, and it's also I started noticing it in other areas of my life, because at first it was just like exercise, and then it was my blog, and then it was like, oh, I can actually like be as outgoing as I want, because my brother is like really, really outgoing and personable, and I think I am too, but I think a lot of the times I would be in competition with him, that one of us has to be like the louder one. But I realized we can both be outgoing, personable people and riff off of each other rather than like take the attention from each other.
Oh, I love it. That's great. Yeah, sharing the give and take aspect,
right.
Everyone gets a turn on the right type of thing.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Exactly.
Those are some great revelations. And as you were coming to those revelations, was that around the time that you we're starting to get into life coaching. I mean, we're
well, I would say that's in terms of chronology, I don't know. I would say I would say I was finishing up my therapy career when I was starting CrossFit, and then and I don't think I don't know that that's, I wonder if that's coincidental. Probably not, because I don't really believe in coincidences. I think that there's always all these like red threads that run through, but I've never thought about it in analogy. I'll have to get back to you on that. But just on my first thought, as I did more CrossFit and started noticing I can do this for the sake of me rather than the sake of something else, that's when I did change my practice, and I thought I really don't have to be a therapist anymore. But I felt so stuck being a therapist. So maybe that's an interesting point.
Wow, how
I never thought about it. I honestly never thought about it like that before.
It's fun to see how the things dovetail into one another, how the
Yeah.
how the baton is handed off into the next energy form, the next entity
Yeah.
that's being created.
Yeah. I really never thought about it. That's something I want to explore on my own. That's interesting.
So what are some of the strangest dreams that you've heard people tell you about, that you've, had to, kind of weave through like a labyrinth and go, ooh, let's unpack this here?
Oh, I had somebody tell me about a dream with the cast of Hamilton. That was awesome. It was a cast of Hamilton, and then there was the dream was a musical, and then the person had dyed their hair. Normally doesn't dye their hair, and had dyed their hair like a very wild color. And so that so it's hard to recall other people's dreams because they're not mine. But I think another thing that's really interesting with dream work is to look at dreams in two different ways. One is through the present and look at like a single incident dream, like the one I had the other day, or look at a recurring dream. Like you were mentioning, you always used to fly in your dreams. And so I've done dream work with people where we're talking about like the recurring dreams and when it comes up. And does it come up when you're anxious, when you're excited, and like, because I think we dream every night. I believe that we always dream, but we have to be in a certain mindset to remember our dreams. We have to like be lucid enough to remember, and then actually like make an effort to say it or write it down or tell somebody right away. I think, and then otherwise, we know that there's something that happened in our sleeping state, but we can't find the words for it. And so I think it's really cool to put the words to it and say it out loud. But I would want to talk to you about like a recurring dream, if you had one. I had a recurring dream for years, like from childhood. It was probably from like when I was probably like 10 to like 30. I had this dream on and off that cactus needles were sort of like porcupine needles, and they were coming out of the cactus and attacking me. And the walls would get really small, and then everything would become sort of psychedelic and like lumpy. And I had this dream for years, and I remembered why I started having it. But I would always have that dream when I was really nervous or scared about something. I don't have it anymore, but I stopped having it when I started doing the dream work and when I talked about it with somebody.
Whoa! Wow!
Yeah, it was a scary dream.
Oh my!
And I remember it now. I mean, I remember it really well now.
Whoa!
Actually, the reason I had the dream is when I was a kid. Do you remember the DARE program? Like don't do drugs. Okay. Yeah. So when I was in school, the school played like this DARE video, and it was so scary. It was all these people who were heroin addicts. Like they were sitting in a like a drug den it was like dirty and dark in the video, and all these people were passed out on the stairs, and you could see them in the video. This is a video for like, I don't know, I was in like 4th grade. You could see them shooting heroin, and I remember coming, and I felt nauseous I'll remember feeling nauseous, and I got like really lightheaded and got a headache during school. When I came home from school, my mom asked why I didn't feel well, and I told her we had to watch this video, and she actually told the teacher, I don't want Nina to watch these videos. We're good on telling her about drugs. She's not going to do them, and we don't want you to teach her this. Like my parents thought that the DARE program was was a dumb program, and so so whenever we would have dare at school, I would have to go to the library, which was much better than watching these horrific videos. And I know it's funny because all these people are like, no, I want my kids to learn that. My parents were like, no, we want to teach her or my brother and me, we want to teach them this stuff like in a different way. We want to teach them more holistically rather than like never teach them like when it's appropriate to try things and what's not appropriate to try things like that. So I had like a really open childhood. So I remember watching that video, and then we had in our house, we had some cacti, and I remember, and we also had a 2-story house, so there were stairs, and I remember like laying on the floor when I, like after school or something one day, and imagining or I guess the dream was that all of the cacti started shooting their needles at me. And I think it was in direct response to the Dare video.
Oh boy. Oh my gosh.
Oh, and also we had these tapestries in our house. Like we had a lot of like tapestries or really cool sort of like mandala symbols on our windows. We had those like it was like kind of like stained glass. It was like this really cool mandala symbols in our house, like all over. And so my parents were really like open and into like cosmic stuff. And so that's how our house was decorated, and I think that's how the psychedelic view came in with the needles poking me in my dream. It was scary. I'm like telling it as if it's cool now, but it wasn't. At the time, it was so scary, and I could never get out of it because also the walls would be closing in.
Oh, geez.
And it was like a really it was scary. It was like a really claustrophobic, anxiety-producing dream.
Holy cow! And then how long did that last?
Probably like 20 years.
Wow.
And it wasn't every night. But it would be like when I was under duress, really anxious about something, and like didn't know, when I didn't have a good concept or awareness of myself, that's when I would have the dream. I learned that later.
Wow. It's so interesting how those are giving us these little nuggets, these little secrets, and once we kind of go, I see what you're doing there, then they kind of go, oh, okay. Then they kind of disappear.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It's so interesting. Wow. Did you ever watch Twin Peaks?
Not really. I've watched a little, but no, I actually want to watch it now.
It's so cool because Dale Cooper follows his intuition and his dreams to help solve the case. It's really cool because it's so, especially at the time, I mean, even now for that type of stuff. Now I think it's a little more acceptable, like in terms of, I think there's a lot more surrealistic type of stuff going on TV now than ever before. But when Twin Peaks came out, there was just a lot of like, sitcoms on and not very much nutrition going on. And so out comes Twin Peaks, and it's this cosmic stuff, with information he's receiving in his dreams, and then the synchronicities start popping up in his world, and he's like, I learned about that in my dream. And so it was just such a mind bender. So I think you'd get a kick out of it. There are 3 seasons actually, and it's just so much fun. But it's just so cool to see someone who is so obedient to their dreams, and he's like, you know what, I solved the dream, I cracked the crime. And that's basically kind of what he does throughout the episode. And even if his methods are a little strange, the townspeople are just like, okay, well, I guess that's what Agent Cooper does. Okay, let's just go along with this. And it's just so cool. Very, very, it's very playful. And so I just had to plant that little seed in there, because I think maybe especially in this day and age where all of the episodes are right there, it's a lot easier to retain information with such a convoluted show with so many names and things. It's just a lot easier. Like, oh, okay, cool. You're on episode 4. And you're like, oh, okay, this is the guy from episode 1. Okay, I remember. Rather than the olden days where it was like 1 week at a time, and you're going, okay, wait.
Oh yeah, totally.
4 weeks ago, I can't remember. And yeah, it's so much fun. It's great that you work in that realm of helping people kind of solve these dreams. There's an institute called the Monroe Institute, and something that there's a guy named I think his name is Bob Monroe, and he once had an out-of-body experience, and he wanted to figure out how to recreate it. And so he started doing a lot of tests with different sounds and frequencies, and then throughout all of his testing, he ended up forming the Monroe Institute and finding all of these different frequencies that helped bring people into all these different states of being. And so he would have these tests, like at the Monroe Institute, they teach you about astral travel, where everybody meets up.
Mhm.
The people all meet up at a particular spot, and or in a specific realm or a different dimension, you know, and then they come back and then they describe what they saw, and they're like, oh my gosh, wow, okay, oh yeah, this thing and that thing. Oh my gosh, it's fascinating. I've talked to some people about this, and it's just like, it sounds so enticing to me, being able to.
Oh, I hope you get to. I hope you get to go sometime.
Oh my gosh, remote viewing, and I mean all of these amazing things that are just not, you know, definitely not conventional pieces of information out there in the world, and it's astounding. I mean, to be able to just imagine that if you're able to just go kind of flip through different parallel universes, kind of like a TV set while you're dreaming, and you just go choop, 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 and you can flip around. That would be pretty cool.
It would be really cool. But I wonder, actually, I started trying something a few years ago where I would decide I'm going to have a favorable dream. Like, I'm going to have a dream where it's like an upbeat dream. And so I would tell myself, like, I would tell myself before bed, okay, I want you to think about such and such. And then, and I would sort of like set myself up for having a favorable dream. And I did.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because I would sort of just tell myself, I couldn't control everything, obviously, but I would tell myself, think about this overnight. And then in the morning when I would wake up, I would feel like I would have an answer. And I don't know how, but I just sort of did. And it wouldn't be everything. It wasn't linear. It was like, it would be like, okay, I think you're concerned about this. Think about it. Actually, this happened a couple nights ago where I've been thinking about making some videos, and I've been sort of stuck. And when I woke up in the morning, I felt like I had the answers.
Oh, that's great.
And so yesterday, I started writing my script for my video because I felt so clear when I woke up.
Gosh, that's fantastic. Do you think that maybe the answers come to us and our brain is working, you know, diligently to find the answers because?
I think if we allow ourselves to, yes.
Yeah, because we don't have that other critic who's standing at the door going, now hold on, wait a second. Okay, everybody, is this a good idea or is this not a good idea? We need the consensus here. You know, it's just going, it's just kind of happening. It's interesting how dreams tend to be remembered most when we're woken up from them. When, you know, when there's alarm that goes off, or the cat's crying, or, you know, something happens where like, whoa, and then you're woken up out of that. It's like you're pulled right out of this thing. And you're just groggy, kind of like still with one foot in the dream and one foot in this world. And it's so interesting when you can feel such a close lucidity with that. With your dreams, with lucid dreams, it's so that we can control what's going on in there. When I guess what's sort of the percentage of amount of times where you have lucid dreams where you realize you're dreaming and now you can kind of control it?
Ooh, percentage? I don't know, but I like to wake up. I mean, I prefer to stay asleep, though, obviously. But then sometimes I wake up and I think, oh, I'm having this dream, I want to finish it. And so then think I have time to go back to sleep. I would say that happens maybe a little less than half of the time, but I would say still a good amount of time. It's not just like once a year. It's like a good amount of time. And I think it's because I tell myself, let's just finish this. Let's sort this out so that you know how it concludes.
So okay, so you're able to just dive right back in there with that knowledge that you're going back into a dream.
Sometimes, not all the time, but yeah. So then I'll think, is this really happening? Like I'll wake up and maybe have to use the bathroom, or there'll be a sound that'll wake me up, or maybe I'm cold or hot. Something will wake me up. Let's just say. So then, my mind feels like really full, but in a really good way. I don't feel overwhelmed. So I'll feel like, what's going on? And then I'll think, this is crazy. Like this person's appearing here, or I haven't thought about this in a long time. And then I'll try to keep my eyes closed as much as possible, and I try not to talk. Try not to talk, or I try not to be too distracted, and I try to stay really focused. So that and then I get back into my bed, or I like turn over, and then I just like do some nasal breathing, like some deep breathing through my nose. Because I think that's a very relaxing breath that tells your brain to relax. And then I can usually get back in. So I do this a lot, actually, now that we're talking about it.
Wow. So when you go back in there, are you finding yourself
So like, is it like where I left off? Sometimes, not all the time, but usually I can pick back up. Rarely do I feel like it just is gone.
Incredible. And then do you start controlling the dream, or are you kind of on the ride, just kind of letting it?
No, I'm on the ride. Then I'm on the ride. I let myself be on the ride, because otherwise, if I'm controlling it, I'm not in the dream anymore, and then I'm awake.
Mm-hmm. Oh, gotcha. Right.
My name is Atlas the Dragon with the Varels Bridge Society. I am the ambassador out of Houston, Texas, and let me tell you something now. I very will be found. This clerisy will not win the day. Crystal is going to succeed. Zort will be done with, and we will no longer have to deal with the false nonchalance that is the world. The Varels Bridge Society will win, you hear me? Take my word for it. We are coming.
First of all, thank you, Nina, for such an extraordinary interview. Now, there's going to be a part 3, so keep your antennae open for that part 3. Now, before I answer Man Behind the Machine's question, if you remember, he asked about the secret UFO meetings I used to attend. I have got to talk about this phone call that came through the hotline. This is an ambassador from the Varels Bridge Society. Now, Varels Bridge Society is connected with Christor Inc., and you've heard me talk about Christor Inc. on podcasts before. Christor Inc. Is associated with DJ Scaramanga Silk, who I will be interviewing soon. Also, Sister Rose, I believe, is the name of the other woman who's a part of Christor Inc. Also involved, Spencer McCall and Wiley Herman. You heard the past podcasts with Spencer McCall and Wiley Herman. I am finding myself caught in this extraordinary tribe of these extraordinary people. And my dream is to have all of these people working with each other on each other's projects at some point in life. Wow, it just blows my mind. So the Varels Bridge Society, these are, go to ChristorInc.com, folks. This is what they call the alternate reality games that are out there. You're actually a part of this. Now I'm compelled to call them back. So, first things first. Call the hotline, 561-203-9179. That's how this ambassador of the Texas division of the Varels Bridge Society called up. Boy, oh boy, this stuff, it gets intense. You will be able to check out on the Christor Inc. page. You could also sign up for the Varels Bridge Society. You could get deep into this stuff. I'm going to have a podcast all about Mesmer and Braid, too. I'm going to talk about them. Actually, I might as well talk about them now. Mesmer and Braid is another alternate reality game. Now, don't quote me on this, but there's a person on TikTok named Blurbex46, I believe, or 49, 46, BLURBEX 46, the number. Check out the videos. They came across a a Mesmer property called Wanderlust. There's a whole Discord page. I just learned about Discord. Discord is a sort of a private server, and everybody can brainstorm and talk about what their theories are. There's a Christor one. There's a whole nonchalance. The whole nonchalance universe includes Christor Inc., Varel's Bridge Society, Latitude Society, Elsewhere Society, Jejun Institute, Grandview Boulevard. Grandview Boulevard, of course, has Coleman in it. Coleman, or Octavio Coleman. Octavio Coleman is the leader of the Jejun Institute. I believe Commander 14 is the leader of Elsewhere Society. Man, such magic that those three musketeers, Wiley Herman, Spencer McCall, and Jeff Hull, have created. I sent out an email to Jeff Hull, and now since we're talking about this, I totally trust that Jeff Hull is going to get back to me. Spencer McCall connected us. There are so many deep questions involving Christor Inc., Mesmer and Braid, all of that stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow Christor Inc. or something from that universe ties in with Mesmer and Braid. That'd be a lot of fun. I've got suspicions. I've got some suspicions. Crazy Suspicions. I love that song by Stephen Wonderful. Crazy Suspicions. Crazy Suspicions. Oh, that's Stephen Wonderful. One of my favorite artists of all time, Stephen Wonderful. Crazy Superstitions. Wow. You know, I wonder if there are any collaborations between Stevie Wonder and Ringo Starr. Wouldn't that be awesome? Heck, let's put together any of those folks that have any of those like extraordinary last names. Ringo Starr, Stevie Wonder. Wow. So, here we go. mesmerandbraid.com. You got to go there, take the collaborator test. You got to take it. You'll go through a series of questions, unique questions, and they will tell you what your special grouping is. Many people have likened this to the, for all of you Harry Potter fans out there, this is the sorting of the houses, of the teams, of the tribes. I myself am a glowrite. How they determine this, I do not know. But they determine it. I'm going to have a whole episode because I'm going to present some of the sounds that you can hear when you call up the phone. I was thinking of attaching that stuff to this right now. Should I? No, I don't think so. We're going to wait. You're going to wait. You're going to wait. Why are you punishing me? Oh, you're going to wait. That's how we're doling out the information. Remember, we still got another episode coming up with Wiley Herman. So I like to have stuff, fun stuff we get to look forward to. It's very rare that I kind of know what I'm going to do ahead of time. This is one of those rare occasions. Coming up on Inspirado Projecto, the continued interview with Wiley Herman. Wiley Herman. And of course, another episodic with Nina Rubin. By the way, folks, visit her at afterdefeat.com. Check out Wiley Herman's movie, The Tolls, It's a great, let's see, I believe it's thetollsmovie.com. Hold on. It's for those of you who are fans of Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, this is one of those fun ways of there are communities being built here, and everyone comes together like detectives, and they look, they look for the breadcrumbs. They follow the breadcrumbs. I think I said this in another episode before. Imagine Sherlock Holmes. If you've ever read Sherlock Holmes, I've got this huge book of it. Huge book of all the Sherlock Holmes stories. Oh, man, it is so good. I think this is why it's important they tell you to read stuff, to look at all these other ideas, because the way that people, all these different perspectives fit words together, oh, that's what's so delicious. That's why poets are those who just fall in love with words. It's a romance with the language, with the way that the vocabulary is, whether it's wordplay. Oh, man. Oh, so delicious. Whether it's really interesting new vocabulary that is not necessarily utilized all that often. There's an interesting way in which the vibrations unfold, and the way in which surprises are revealed, and it's like a certain pace. You're pacing it. I imagine it's like you're cooking multiple things on the stove, and certain things take longer to boil than others. So you kind of plot it out, how they're going to, okay, this thing's ready, that thing's ready. So poetry, the language. Now, let us play. Oh gosh, I want to play a fun fact. I want to play a fun fact for you. Hey kid, I want to play a fun fact for you. I'm going to give you a fun fact, and then we're going to come back with the story about the secret UFO meetings. Stay tuned to Inspirado Projecto, Ecto.
Here's your fun fact. You can use Star Wars collectible coins as real money. The tiny South Pacific island of Niue accepts limited edition Star Wars collectible coins as legal tender. So on your next vacation to Niue, be sure to bring some of your coins if you're in need of buying lunch and you're all out of money. Okay, stay tuned to Inspirado Projecto for more fun facts.
Okay, here we go. The answer to Man Behind the Machine's question about the secret UFO meetings that I would attend. There's a guy named Stephen Bassett who created the Paradigm Research Group. And he started this whole project about disclosure of the, getting petitions signed, getting people, drumming up interest, getting people interested in the idea of the government declassifying UFO files and making the public aware that we have extraterrestrials on Earth. They're always watching us all the time. They can shapeshift. They can vibrate at a higher level than us, so they, in a sense, become invisible. This is why it's been said that if we traveled back in time, chances are the people there wouldn't be able to even see us because we'd be vibrating at a faster rate. So, and this could account for possibly the feeling why we feel the time flies. You know, this could possibly account for that idea. Anyway, Stephen Bassett. I don't know how long he held the meetings for, but once a month, I'd gone on 3 occasions. I visited on 3 occasions, and the only way to get in there was that you had to know someone, and you had to know someone. You had to be in the industry, and by the industry, I'm putting that in quotes. That usually means you got to be in the film or TV industry. Oh, it's become such a commonplace when you say the industry. It means, you know, the film and TV industry. That can mean if you're a director, producer, musician, actor, any of those things, but someone that is involved with the industry and is a UFO enthusiast or has had personal experiences. And every once in a while he would have these esteemed guests, these guests who were respected within the UFO community. Everyone would go around, introduce themselves, and talk about what their job is in the industry and what their experiences were. And I heard some amazing experiences at this place. It was the first time I heard someone talk about the reptiles. It was, I believe it was, I heard about the reptiles. I heard there was a guy who talked about interviews he had with, you know, the highly classified government dudes. And they talked about flying from the North Pole to the South Pole in the hollow earth and looking over through the window and seeing woolly mammoths running on the ground. It's prehistoric in there. He talked about the hollow earth. There's a guy who talked about his experiences with coming across a morphing UFO, this UFO that would morph right before his very eyes. When he would go out and visit, his parents were divorced, and so his dad moved out to a farm. So he would go out and stay at his dad's house, and he liked to sleep in this barn. He liked sleeping in the barn and being near all the animals and everything. Well, it was in that barn that he started getting visited by ETs, and he said he woke up one time and he looked over and there was this saucer of a ship, but then it went like CGI. It morphed into a different shape. There's a woman whose grandpa used to work at Area 51 and told her a bunch of stories. It was at that meeting, at one of those meetings. Oh, it was held out in Marina del Rey at a motion capture studio. And it was there that I met Roger Lear. Roger Lear has since passed, Dr. Roger Lear. And if you look up Alien Scalpel on YouTube, he's still got his channel up there. He's still got his videos up there where he would do these surgeries on people. I mean, it's gross. I mean, I don't, I can't necessarily look at that stuff because he's really digging in there. And he's operating on people's arms or necks or what have you, where they have been inserted with one of those little, a little piece of metal. Sometimes it's metal. Whitley Strieber, who wrote Communion, he had asked Roger to get this piece removed out from behind his ear, but Roger just didn't trust himself enough to do something like that. But he would have these specimens at his laboratory. He in fact invited us to go out there. He said there was this one what the hell, the implant in someone's arm that was like, imagine like one of those boba balls or like a tapioca pudding ball. It's like a little gelatinous, like, so he said underneath someone's skin there's like a little bump, like it was like a ball, and you can move. He's like, you can move if you took like a pen, pen cap, and you moved it along the skin, this thing would follow it. He said it was biological in nature, and they operated on it. See, what they would do is they had this machine where they would measure the implant, the electrical impulses. They would measure it, and sure enough, giving off electrical impulses. This is why they say that these implants are kind of very similar to when we tag cows to keep track of cows. That's kind of like what the ETs are doing. They're bloop, tagging us and keeping a watch on us. Who knows why specific people happen to be those specific people. I would love to interview someone on the show who has actually gotten an implant removed. I actually know a guy, Jeff Finn, the creator of the documentary Before the End. He's got a very interesting UFO story, implant story. So Roger Lear would say, well, that's, if anyone's looking for the smoking gun of aliens existing, I've got the smoking guns. He said, these are, once you remove the implant from the skin, there's no longer any electrical impulse. Then he puts them in these petri dishes. He said it with the little ball under the person's skin. He said they operated, he got that little thing out, and the thing stopped moving. What he did was he took some of the blood from the person that he operated on. He put their blood into the petri dish and put the strange little biological thing in there, hoping that it would, sort of. It's like taking a fish out of a fish tank, putting it in a bowl of its own, or into a bag of its own water. Getting used to that before you jump, dive, put it into a new fish tank kind of thing. So he put this little implant into a bowl of petri dish, and the electrical signal stopped. People from all over the world found out that he was doing these surgeries. He has some of the most clear UFO footage you will ever see. It's in Turkey. Look up Roger Lear, Leir. I believe that's how you spell his name, or Lier. I'm sure it'll correct it for you on YouTube. Look up Dr. Roger Lear, Turkey UFOs. Some good. He said Turkey, they fly a lot over there. If I have any listeners in Turkey, please call the hotline 561-203-9179, and please confirm that. Please confirm that. I want to hear your stories. I definitely want to hear your stories too if you have some alien implants. I met a guy there who, what is his name? He had the blueprints for a UFO. There's a Dr. Barish who used to work at Area 51. He wasn't at the meeting, but I'll call the guy. I'll just say Joe. Okay, so there was this guy who's named Joe who'd come to the meetings. I had a lot of great ideas. Stephen Bassett needed to. I think he should have listened to him a little more. But this guy Joe, and I don't really remember his name. I got to rummage through my storage here and look up the alien blueprint. But he had the full story. He interviewed this guy Barish, Dr. Barish, who worked at Area 51. They should call it Alien 51. I'm sure someone's already thought of that. So the Dr. Barish, who was working there, and this alien, he got to sort of form a relationship with this thing. They would interview it telepathically. And one day, this thing jumped onto his chest, knocked him down, and just stared straight into his eyes and just downloaded all this information. And so he knew about all the crafts and everything, how they're all built. And so through him, he was able to make a blueprint of a UFO. And this guy, Joe, happened to have the blueprint of the UFO. He passed out these to everybody, one to everybody. These meetings were great. So that was the secret UFO meeting I used to attend. Look up Stephen Bassett, STEVEN BASSETT, Paradigm Research Group. Look that up. We don't have those meetings anymore, unfortunately. We don't have those meetings, unfortunately, anymore. It was thrilling to go in there and hear these people talk about this stuff. Stephen would usually open up the meetings showing the latest trailers and commercials for movies or TV shows that had to do with UFOs. And so what one of the things he said was that the media, they know the truth, and it's kind of like, and these are what I'm about to say next are kind of like my own words, but they are my own words. It's kind of like when you know an inside joke and you say it around your friends a lot when you're at school. Let's say you got an inside joke about, I don't know, the principal. You got this funny little inside joke about the principal, and you call him Sasquatch. So, let's say in high school, you're like, where's Sasquatch today? Anyone else would be like, what? But you're like, oh, Sasquatch. Those who know, they know. Or if you're a Harry Potter fan, you might say, look at all these muggles. And a person who's not a Harry Potter fan would say, what are you talking about? But those who are Harry Potter fans would go, oh, yeah, a lot of muggles. They would know. There's an inside joke there. May the Force be with you. If I say that to someone who's never seen Star Wars, they're not going to know what the heck that is. May the Force be with you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. God bless you, too. So, it's kind of that little cheeky kind of, you know what? I know a little something. He said that's kind of like what they do in the media to release truth. They'll release it in a fictional way. When you release something in a fictional way, your brain can accept it better because it's in imagination land. It's in dreamland. It's a lot easier to accept it because it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's fictional. It's, you're not required to give a yes or no answer on whether you believe it exists or not. It's entertainment that way. You're just like, oh God, that's funny. So then it's a subliminal conditioning of the brain. It gets used to that condition. It normalizes it in its brain. So then when it comes about, when that thing actually is revealed and actually happens, now you're like, aha. It's like you've gotten used to it. So he says they do that a lot with when the UFO alien type stuff were in commercials and movies. He's like, yep, they're priming your brain. They're getting you used to it. They're kind of disclosing the information without officially disclosing it. Stephen Bassett was in charge of the Disclosure Project, which is they brought together all these government officials, and the government officials talked about their experiences. There's a guy named Hellyear, Hellyear, which is interesting. That's different than the documentary Hellier, which is spelled Hellier. That's about Hellier, Kentucky, about the goblins. But that's a side. That's a side point. That's a side thing. But check out that documentary, by the way. But Hellyear, Hellyer. Hellyer. I think he was the from the Department of Defense of Canada. He talked about the tall whites. Oh God, there's just so much information on this. It's funny. It's so funny that we're even still debating the existence of these things. We've got all these stories. If you really want to get highly vibrational, check out the Unify page on Facebook, Unify. And look on the Unify page and check out the harmonic convergence. Or you could go to thc.org and look up all the harmonic convergence things from each of those days, and you'll see lots of people talking about UFO sightings, meetings, the ways in which they changed their lives. I interviewed quite a few people so far on the podcast that I met through the harmonic convergence, actually, that are episodes on here. Anyway, thank you, man behind the machine, for giving me that trip down memory lane. Take care. Thank you so much for listening. Inspirado Projecto.
People could reach me if they're interested in talking or learning about coaching or just reading my blog or just saying hi on Instagram, After Defeat, just AFTERDEFEAT, and the same for my website, www.afterdefeat.com. And there people can contact me and read my blog, etc. So I would love to hear from people. I'm friendly and open, and I love to hear new ideas. So that's always really awesome to me.
Gosh. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show and for such a high vibrating conversation. This is going to be so great to share with everybody.
This has been so fun for me. I just want to thank you for having me on and having such a thorough, fun, light, interesting and introspective conversation. I really like the way you operate and the way you are in the world. I love hearing how positive you are, and also how tickled you are with ideas. It's just such a present part of you.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I just feel like it's all giggles, and I like that. That's the kind of way that those are the people I like, are the people who are like open to giggling and then actually do it. That's me.
Oh my gosh. This is good. We'll be waking up some more of those people in their hibernation through this podcast. That'll be fun. Well, thank you so much, Nina, and you have a great day, and
you too.
Stay inspired.
Sounds good, and you also. Talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Inspirado Projecto. Inspirado. 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 Inspirado.